I'm happy that at this point, there's almost nobody left on the public stage who's willing to outright defend the castration and mutilation of children. But if you ever did defend it, you are not welcome on Team Sanity. You will never be welcome.
Let me ask you something. What's worse, being completely insane or pretending you're not insane while still defending insanity? Because that's exactly the uncomfortable corner Gavin Newsom has painted himself into. A man who once cheered every letter of the LGBTQIA+ acronym like it was the national anthem, now wants to convince you he's suddenly unsure about one of its most radical beliefs. And he's trying to sell you this confused act on national TV with all the charm of a man doing jazz hands in a foreign language. Don't believe me? Stick around. We're breaking down exactly how this political chameleon tries and fails to camouflage his past in a sea of uhs, you knows, and completely baffling word salad. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the takedowns they really don't want you to see.
Today we have, admittedly, an entirely unnecessary daily cancellation because we're going to cancel Gavin Newsom, a man who is by default always canceled on this show, and also a man whose flaws are so numerous and obvious that you don't need me to point them out for you. But we're going to cancel him anyway, just because I'm really annoyed by this clip that I'm about to play.
Now, let's talk about why Gavin Newsom is canceled today, even though honestly, he should have been canceled 100 times already. This isn't new. He's always been on the wrong side of just about everything. But this time, it's not even about what he believes. It's about the fact that he's clearly lying about what he believes. Or worse, that he doesn't believe anything at all. You see, Newsom recently appeared on the Sean Ryan show. Yes, that guy with the beard and the stare. Towards the end of the interview, the conversation took a sharp turn toward the issue of gender transitions for kids.
What about for your values? I mean, is 8 years old too young?
Yeah, I mean, look, I now that I have a 9-year-old, just became 9. Come on, man, I get it. So those are legit. You know, it's interesting. Just the issue of age. I haven't. It's interesting. As someone that's been so focused on equality broadly. LGBT rights, particularly gay marriage. Mm-hmm. The trans issue for me is also novel. It's over the last few years. I'm trying to understand as much as anyone else. And this notion of gender affirming care for children, that's tough, man. And the science on that, I haven't dove that deep into it, but I read one report and then there's one that's slightly contradictory. And then they said, there's no contradictory. Here's what the UK just came out with. You're full of It's absolutely scientifically sound that it's outrageous, and so it's intense.
Now, if that sounded like a guy trying to freestyle a TED Talk while being hit with a leaf blower, that's because it was. What was that even supposed to mean? The man was asked a yes or no question, and instead of giving a real answer, he went full-on interpretive dance with his hands, mumbling through vague thoughts about equality and trying to understand.
Thank you for that eloquent dissertation on the topic, Governor. And just in case you missed any of this brilliant man's brilliant response, yeah, I mean, look, now that I have a 9-year-old, just became 9. Come on, man, I get it. So those are legit. It's interesting, just the issue of age. It's interesting, I'm not, as someone who's been so focused on equality broadly, LGBT, gay marriage, the trans issue for me is also novel. It's over the last few years, I'm trying to understand, like anyone else, the whole pronoun thing. I'm trying to understand all of that. That was all that stuff. I get it. Now, of course, you can't forget the hand signals when you're reading a Gavin Newsom quote. He's always doing the hand, I don't know what all this is.
Let me be clear. This isn't a math problem. It's not philosophy class. It's not something you need a decade to figure out. The question is whether children should undergo irreversible medical procedures to try to change their. The correct answer is yes, or better yet, hell yes if you're sane. But Gavin somehow gave us neither. And it's not just what he said, it's how he said it.
There are just 2 points I want to make here, and we won't belabor it. But first of all, Newsom is attempting to moderate on the trans issue in the only way that he can, if he also wants to preserve any hope of winning a Democrat primary. So he can't come out and be fully rational and sane and clear, because rational, sane, clear people don't win Democrat primaries. But he also can't be a whack job trans activist, because whack job trans activists don't win general elections. This is the box that every Democrat on the national stage has created for themselves. Newsom is now staking out the only ground available to him, which is why he's adopting this kind of aw shucks tone of a guy who isn't quite sure what's going on, but he's trying to figure it out.
Maybe he really is confused. Maybe he really did spend the last 10 years reflecting on whether kids should be sterilized. If that's the case, then he's not just dishonest, he's dangerously slow. Because again, this isn't rocket science. This is about protecting children from being permanently harmed by an ideology that doesn't even make sense on its own terms. If you still need to figure that out, then you're not fit to lead anything, let alone a country. What's really happening here is simple. Newsom is trying to walk a tightrope. He wants to appear sane enough to win over moderates in a general election, but still woke enough to win the Democratic primary.
It's also complicated. It's tough. It's intense. It's so intense, man. Come on, man. This is a tough one. Jeez. It's like, wow. Am I right? It's not a tough question. It's not complicated. It's not something that you need to figure out. We're supposed to believe that Newsom has spent the last 10 years of his life deeply reflecting on the question of whether we should try to turn boys into girls. And 10 years into these reflections, he still isn't sure.
There are still plenty of people like Newsom who want to quietly shift gears without ever admitting they were wrong. They want to act like it never happened, like they never said what they said, like they never supported what they supported, and we can't let them get away with that. So yes, Gavin Newsom is canceled. Again, not because of one stupid comment or one bad interview, but because he represents everything wrong with the way our leaders approach these issues. He's a weather vane, a chameleon, a man who doesn't stand for anything except whatever he thinks will get him elected next.
It kind of reminds me of the people that you run into on occasion, online anyway, who will say that they aren't in the flat earth cult, but they're open to the flat earth arguments. You know, you hear that every once in a while. And I can understand conceptually, I can understand the concept of someone being totally insane and thinking that the earth is flat. I can also understand being sane and normal and knowing that the earth isn't flat. I can't understand knowing that the earth isn't flat, but being open to the possibility that it is. And that's the kind of middle ground between insanity and sanity that Newsom and many other Democrats are trying to stake for themselves, and it just doesn't work. It will never work.
There's no nuance in saying that biology is real. If you need a committee of experts and 10 years of reflecting to come to that conclusion, then you either don't have a spine or you sold your soul a long time ago. This is why that word salad Gavin Newsom spewed out isn't just annoying, it's dangerous, because it allows people to feel like they're being thoughtful and moderate while still giving cover to one of the most destructive ideologies we've ever seen. It gives them permission to say, well, I'm not for it, but I can understand both sides.
There's almost nobody left on the public stage who's willing to outright defend the castration and mutilation of children. Almost nobody will outright defend it. And that's a very positive development. But if you ever did defend it, you are not welcome on Team Sanity. You will never be welcome here.
There are things you can say and do that destroy your credibility forever, and this is one of them. Would you let a offender babysit your kids just because he said he's changed? Would you trust a compulsive liar just because he claims he's turned over a new leaf? Of course not. There are some lines you can't uncross, some mistakes you don't come back from, and pretending that children can change their and supporting policies that help them do it is one of those lines. It's not just wrong, it's evil, it's inhuman, and the people who backed it, who promoted it, who enforced it need to be held accountable, not coddled, not congratulated for finally seeing the light. They need to be remembered for what they did and kept far away from power ever again.
You have permanently discredited yourself, and this is one of those things. Now, of course, there are a million other reasons why Gavin Newsom has no credibility and should never be trusted or taken seriously. This is just one of them. And it's also just one of the reasons, though a very significant reason, why Gavin Newsom is today canceled.
But there are some issues where getting it wrong disqualifies you from the conversation. You don't get to promote child mutilation for years and then pretend like you're just now starting to think about it. You don't get to use your own child as a rhetorical shield, saying, now that I have a 9-year-old, I get it. No, you don't. If you really got it, you'd be outraged. You'd be apologizing. You'd be using every ounce of your political influence to undo the damage you helped cause. But you're not doing that, are you? You're just sitting there on camera, waving your hands and talking in circles like a man who's more worried about how he looks than what's right. So no, Gavin, you don't get a pat on the back for almost kind of maybe realizing that chopping up kids might be bad. You don't get points for nearly having a conscience. You're not one of the good guys now. You're not welcome on Team Sanity, and you never will be. You made your choice. You sold out truth and reason for applause and political gain, and now that the applause has stopped, you're trying to act like you never heard the music. We remember, and we won't forget.